Thank you so much. I appreciate every one of us. I bring you greetings once again from the Most High, Yahweh, our Father, and from His Son, Yahushua. I am going to be doing the part 3 of this topic, 364 days calendar. 364 days calendar. 364 days calendar. If you have not watched the part 1 and part 2, it is important that you watch the part 1 and part 2 before you come to watch this part 3. From part 2, we were able to discover, reading from the book of Enoch chapter 72, verse 1, we were able to discover that 364 days is everlasting. And we went further to verse 2 to discover in verse 2 that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Moving forward, now, we are going to be reading verse 3. I will read verse 3 of that same book. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun goes down. And the moon rises and goes down in these portals. And the leaders of the stars, and those whom they lead, 6 in the east, and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. So that from that verse of scripture, we could see that 6 portals to the right, 6 portals, and 6 portals. We could see 6 portals to the east and 6 portals to the west. In other words, 6 months. The 6 portals are 6 months of the year, and the other 6 portals in the west is 6 months. 6 months of the year again. So 6 portals to the east talks about the sun rising in the east, which is brighter day, longer day. So for the first 6 months, there's a longer day. Then 6 portals to the west talks about longer night and shorter day. So 6 months of the year again talks about longer night and shorter day. That's what that verse of scripture is trying to explain to us. Moving forward, we are going to go to verse 7 of that same book, Enoch 72. Let's go to verse 7. We can read about the other verses, but I will read verse 6 and verse 7. Verse 6 says, in this way he rises in the first month, in the great portal, which is the 4th. He rises in the first month. What did I say is the first month? In part 1 or 2 of my video, we could discover that the first month of the year, which I mentioned, was March. And in this year, the first month of the year is March 20, which is the spring equinox. And in the spring equinox, he said, in this way, he rises in the first month, in the great portal. That's the great portal, which is the 4th. Now let's go to verse 7. That's where my emphasis is. Verse 7 says, in that 4th portal, from which the sun rises in the first month, are 12 window openings, from which proceeded a flame when they are opened in their season. The 12 windows opening represents the 12 months of the year. The 12 months of the year. The 12 months of the year. So we could see that in verse 6, the sun starts in the fourth quarter, which is the spring equinox, which begins at March 20. This year, it begins at March 20. Now, let us begin to calculate the days of the months, having been able to establish that the months are 12. From verse 7, we could discover that the 12 windows represent 12 months of the year. Now, let us now begin to calculate the days of the month. Let's go to verse 8. Verse 8 to verse 10. Verse 8 says, when the sun rises in the Shamayi, it comes forth through that fourth quarter, 30 mornings in succession, and goes down exactly in the fourth quarter in the west of the Shamayi. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer and the night nightly shorter to the 30th morning. Verse 10. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. In other words, in this particular verse of scripture, verses 8 to verses 10, we could discover that we have 30 days of the month. So from that beginning of the month, which is March 20, 30 days. So that March 20, you're counting 30 days it falls into April in our normal calendar. That's why you see the celebration of the Passover falls within these first 30 days, this period. From March 20, the Passover is celebrated 14 days. 14 days into the month. So from March, if you count, from March 20, if you count, you will discover that the celebration of the Passover falls in April. This year, it fell in April. If you count from the spring equinox of March 20, it fell in April. So the first month is 30 days according to this verse of scripture. Now let's go to the next one. If we read from verses 11 to verse 12, I read, and the sun rises from that fourth quarter and goes down in the fourth and returns to the fifth quarter of the east 30 mornings again, which is 30 days, and rises from it and goes down in the fifth quarter. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts. And the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. So from this verse of scripture, verses 11 to verse 12 of Enoch 72, we could see that the second month again is 30 days. This second month again is another 30 days. So we have the first 30 days, we have another 30 days. I'm going to end this video here so that we can continue the series again. So we are able to discover now from this teaching that the first month, which starts from the spring equinox of March 20 this year, you count 30 days and the month is completed, and you enter a new month. You count another 30 days, making it 2 months. So from April, you count another 30 days again. That's how it is calculated.